Imagine opening your phone right now. You look at it, you have full bars.
Yeah, your texts are sending instantly.
Exactly. The internet is lightning fast. Everything just looks and feels completely perfect.
Right.
But what if I told you that for the last year or so, elite hackers have been, well, quietly sitting inside your mobile carrier, just watching the data flow?
Wow.
And their ultimate goal was to make sure you literally never noticed a single thing.
That is entirely the point of what we're looking at today.
Right. Welcome to Tech Talks with Kinsoft. Today we are exploring a massive, really highly complex cyber espionage campaign that targeted the absolute backbone of Singapore's telecommunications infrastructure.
It's a huge story.
It really is. We're looking at a threat actor that infiltrated 4 major telcos, all without breaking anything. We're going to talk about the incredibly advanced tools they use to pull off this, silent invasion, and what this quiet siege reveals about the future of global cyber operations.
The details coming out of this incident, they really subvert everything we're usually taught to expect from a cyber attack.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're sort of conditioned to look for flashing red screens or locked files or, massive internet outages.
Ransomware notes, right?
Exactly, ransomware notes. But the reality we're looking at today provides this masterclass in how modern state-level cyber operations actually function in the real world.
Which is
prioritizing stealth above all else.
Right. So the news broke via a statement from the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore, or the CSA.
Yeah.
And they laid out the facts regarding a threat actor known in the cybersecurity community as UNC3886.
Catchy name.
Right. Very catchy.
Yeah.
So the CSA described this as a deliberate, targeted, and well-planned attack. And they didn't just hit one vulnerable company.
No, they didn't.
They hit all 4 of Singapore's top telecommunications providers. So that's Singtel, StarHub, M1, and SIMBA Telecom.
And to really understand the staggering scope of hitting all 4 top providers, you have to understand the adversary here.
Okay, let's get into that. Who is UNC3886?
Well, they are not a loose collective of amateur hackers looking for a quick ransom payout, right?
They're not kids in a basement.
Exactly. Cybersecurity researchers at Google, specifically their cybersecurity unit Mandiant, they've tracked this group pretty extensively.
Okay.
And they categorize them as highly disciplined and, incredibly stealthy. And they link UNC3886 as an espionage group likely working on behalf of China.
Okay, and we should definitely state clearly for you listening that we are just reporting the findings from these specific cybersecurity firms and government incident responders.
Right, absolutely.
Because Beijing routinely and repeatedly denies conducting any cyber espionage operations abroad.
Yeah, their official stance is a very consistent denial of these kinds of state-backed hacking allegations.
And, the Chinese embassy in Singapore, they didn't publicly respond to this specific disclosure, so our focus is strictly on the technical forensics.
Just the mechanics of the event itself.
Right. And those technical forensics, they point to a group that operates with a very, very specific strategic mindset.
They are not looking to make noise.
Which brings up a really glaring question.
Yeah.
If a highly advanced group manages to compromise the core infrastructure of an entire country's top 4 phone companies.
The literal bedrock of their communication.
Exactly. Why didn't the internet go down? I mean, if you have the keys to the castle across 4 different networks, why not turn off the lights and cause some chaos?
Well, because causing chaos alerts the administrators that you are inside the network.
Oh.
Yeah. We are so used to seeing, ransomware gangs locking up hospital databases.
Right.
Or denial of service attacks taking down banking websites. Those attacks are loud by design.
Because they want you to know they're there.
Right. Because they demand attention or extortion. They want to get paid.
Got it.
But if your goal is long-term intelligence gathering, the absolute worst thing you can do is break a server or disrupt a routing protocol.
Because a dropped connection triggers a support ticket.
Exactly. A support ticket brings a network engineer to investigate. That engineer pokes around and then they find your malware. So silence is literally the only way to maintain persistence.
So the methodology requires completely avoiding the standard alarms.
Yes. And UNC3886 achieved this by bypassing standard malware entirely.
Okay, so what do they use?
Well, you won't find them using a generic Trojan you might, accidentally download from a phishing email. They specifically deployed zero-day vulnerabilities in foundational network systems.
Right, 0 days. And just to underscore the gravity of that for anyone, tracking the economics of cyber warfare,
Yeah.
a 0 day is a vulnerability completely unknown to the software vendor.
Hence the name. You have 0 days to patch it.
Right. There is no patch because
What?
the creator literally doesn't know the flaw exists.
Exactly.
And developing or purchasing a reliable 0-day, I mean, that can cost millions of dollars in the exploit market.
Oh, absolutely. Millions.
So you don't burn a multi-million-dollar asset just to, like, deface a website.
No, you burn it to gain a master key. Wow. And UNC3886, they didn't just target one type of software. They deployed 0 days across a variety of foundational systems.
Like what kind of systems?
Well, vulnerabilities in Fortinet firewalls, VMware virtualized environments, and even custom backdoors deployed on Juniper routers.
Okay, so these are the heavy-duty enterprise-grade systems that literally route the internet and build the perimeter defenses for massive corporations.
Yep. They went straight for the load-bearing wall.
It sounds like instead of kicking down the front door and tripping the alarm, the burglars sort of acquired a hidden blueprint to the building,
Right.
slipped into the ventilation shafts, and built an entirely hidden room where the security guards literally aren't capable of patrolling.
That ventilation shaft analogy works perfectly, actually, when we talk about targeting VMware.
Okay, break that down for me.
Let's look at the mechanics of why VMware is such a critical target. In a modern telco, they aren't running thousands of individual physical computers, right?
No, of course not.
They run massive server racks, and they use software called a hypervisor.
Like VMware, to create hundreds of virtual machines on a single physical box.
Right.
And the hypervisor sits underneath the operating systems.
Meaning it controls the environment the operating systems live inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Therefore, if you deploy standard enterprise security software like an antivirus or endpoint detection system,
Yeah.
it gets installed inside the Windows or Linux operating system. It can only see what the operating system sees.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah, if UNC3886 compromises the hypervisor level beneath it, they are invisible.
Wow.
The security tools literally cannot reach down into that foundational layer to spot the anomaly.
So they are operating in the absolute blind spots of the network architecture.
Precisely.
And the forensics show they went even further to ensure they stayed invisible, right? I mean, Singapore's coordinating Minister for National Security, K. Shanmugam, noted that the hackers used advanced tools like Linux rootkits.
Yeah, rootkits. Rootkits are fascinating pieces of engineering.
Because they hide things, right? Right. Their primary function is to intercept commands at the kernel level of an operating system.
So how does that work in practice?
Imagine a system administrator suspects something is wrong, okay? And they type a command to list all the active processes and hidden files currently running on a router.
Okay. Standard troubleshooting.
Right. The rootkit sees that command being issued, actively filters its own malicious files out of the results, and hands a pristine, perfectly clean list back to the administrator.
Are you kidding me?
No. The operating system is actively lying to the very people trying to defend it.
Wow. So if the attackers are utilizing these ultra-expensive 0-day exploits to get into the hypervisors,
Yeah.
and then deploying rootkits that actively lie to the system administrators,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, finding them sounds hard enough, but getting them out must be an entirely different nightmare.
It is an incredibly delicate operation.
Which explains the massive scale of the response here.
Hmm.
I mean, the Singapore government launched what they called Operation Cyber Guardian,
Yes, Cyber Guardian.
based on the numbers from the Cybersecurity Agency. This was Singapore's largest cyber incident response effort to date.
It's a massive undertaking.
This operation lasted more than 11 months, nearly a year of continuous mitigation.
And the duration alone, that just highlights the extreme complexity of rooting out a hypervisor-level threat.
Okay, wait, let me challenge that timeline for a second.
Sure.
11 months seems like an absolute eternity in the tech world. I mean, if my laptop gets a severe virus, I back up my photos, wipe the hard drive completely clean, and reinstall the operating system in like an afternoon.
Right.
Why does it take over 100 government cyber experts almost a year to clean up a network?
Well, think about the environment they are operating in. You are trying to rebuild the foundation of a suspension bridge while rush hour traffic is actively driving over it.
Oh, man.
You cannot simply wipe the hard drives of Singapore's 4 major telecommunications providers. You can't turn off the internet for a nation.
Because everything relies on it.
Everything. Hospitals, financial clearinghouses, military logistics, emergency services, they all rely on continuous, unbroken uptime.
So they basically have to surgically remove the rootkits while the data packets are actively flowing.
Exactly. They have to identify the compromised nodes, spin up entirely new, clean, patched virtual environments that are parallel to the infected ones.
Right.
Then they have to seamlessly migrate the live network traffic over to the clean nodes without dropping a single connection.
That sounds impossible.
And then on top of that, they have to isolate and study the infected servers to ensure the threat actor hasn't left, a secondary backdoor somewhere else.
Right, because if you miss one,
They're back in.
yeah.
So doing that across 4 massive telcos without causing a latency spike is a monumental engineering feat.
And the fact that they pulled it off brings up the most counterintuitive, surprising aspect of this entire event, at least to me.
What's that?
Despite the hackers gaining access to critical systems and despite them maintaining this covert, persistent presence for roughly a year, there were absolutely zero service disruptions. None.
None at all. And that points to the discipline of UNC3886 for sure, but it also validates the defense-in-depth mechanisms that the telcos possess.
Okay, so the telcos had safeguards.
Right. The attackers were inside, but they were prevented from gaining total, unrestricted administrative control over the entire core.
But the strangest part is the data itself.
The missing data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The CSA explicitly reported that there is no evidence to date that any sensitive customer data or personal records were accessed or exfiltrated.
None.
No credit cards were stolen, no
Wow.
personal text messages were downloaded, no billing records were dumped on the dark web for sale.
Right.
Really analyze that for a second. They spend millions of dollars on 0 days. They build these invisible rooms in the hypervisors.
Yep.
They sit quietly in the digital walls for a year. And they don't steal a single credit card or private texts.
No.
What is the motive? I mean, why expend all those resources just to sit there?
Well, this is where we really have to separate our understanding of cybercrime from cyber espionage.
Okay, break that down.
Cyber criminals, right, they are motivated by immediate financial liquidity.
Cash.
Exactly. They steal databases to sell on dark web forums, or they deploy ransomware to extort cryptocurrency.
Right, that's the loud stuff we talked about.
Exactly. Nation-state threat actors, though, they are playing a vastly different, much longer game.
Okay.
Their currency is strategic intelligence and geopolitical advantage.
So in that context, telecommunications infrastructure isn't just a company.
No.
It's the central nervous system of a target nation.
You nailed it. Telecommunications infrastructure is the holy grail for a state-backed intelligence apparatus.
Why specifically telecom?
Because everything a modern society requires to function flows through those specific pipes. When a group like UNC3886 infiltrates a telco and deploys these silent rootkits, their primary goal is often mapping out the network architecture.
They just want the blueprints.
Right. They need to understand exactly how the data flows, where the most critical administrative nodes are located, and what the dependencies are between different government and civilian sectors.
They're learning the layout of the building so they know exactly which load-bearing walls to hit in the future.
Exactly. The term used in the intelligence community is prepositioning.
Prepositioning.
And according to the broader context provided by Reuters and Mandiant, these operations are frequently about preparing for future geopolitical conflicts.
Like what kind of conflicts?
Well, take the constantly analyzed scenario of a potential future conflict over Taiwan.
Right.
If a regional crisis erupts, having deep, undetected, persistent access to the telecommunications infrastructure of a major logistical and financial hub like Singapore.
I mean, that provides an unbelievable strategic advantage.
Huge. You don't have to launch a new attack on day one of a conflict.
Because you've already been inside the network for 2 years.
You are already in the control room. You could monitor high-level government communications. You could subtly disrupt maritime logistics.
Wow. Or even sever connectivity to financial sectors at the precise moment it causes the maximum amount of strategic paralysis.
So you basically plant the digital explosives years in advance, simply waiting for a political directive to detonate them.
That's the theory, yeah.
And again, we have to note that Beijing vehemently denies engaging in this kind of prepositioning or state-sponsored espionage.
Of course.
But from a purely theoretical military strategy standpoint, that is exactly how a major global power would leverage advanced cyber capabilities.
Yeah, it's about securing the high ground for tomorrow's potential conflicts, completely ignoring today's financial game.
And the sheer discipline required to secure that high ground
Right.
and then do absolutely nothing with it. I mean, that is what makes UNC3886 so formidable.
They had access to critical infrastructure, but they chose to merely observe.
To really emphasize how specific that discipline is, I think it helps to contrast UNC3886, with other major cyber events dominating the headlines recently.
That's a good point.
A great example is the Salt Typhoon attacks.
Right, Salt Typhoon. These were incredibly widespread breaches that hit hundreds of telecom companies globally. I mean, including major carriers in the United States.
Yeah, and multiple Western governments linked Salt Typhoon to China as well.
Right, but the operational style was entirely different.
Extremely different. The difference in methodology is very revealing about how these groups are organized, actually.
How so?
Well, the Singapore government explicitly stated in their public announcement that the attack carried out by UNC3886 on their local telcos had not resulted in the same extent of damage as cyber attacks elsewhere.
Right, specifically referencing those global Salt Typhoon hacks.
Exactly. Because Salt Typhoon was louder, it was aggressive, and it resulted in far more tangible exposure.
But UNC3886 operated like a ghost.
It proves that advanced persistent threat groups, or APTs, are not a single monolith, even if they are suspected to originate from the exact same country.
They're compartmentalized.
Yeah, they operate like highly specialized military units with entirely different objectives, different toolkits, and different rules of engagement. One group might be tasked with aggressive, loud data collection, sweeping up as much raw intelligence as possible.
Like Salt Typhoon.
Right. Another group, like UNC3886, is tasked purely with maintaining a silent foothold in critical infrastructure at all costs.
And Singapore's infrastructure is clearly a high-priority target for these various groups. I mean, our sources indicate Singapore has faced similar sophisticated threats very recently.
Oh, definitely.
Earlier in 2024, Bloomberg reported that another major group, known as Volt Typhoon, was believed to have breached Singtel, the country's largest mobile carrier.
Yeah, the typhoons.
Right. You have Volt Typhoon, Salt Typhoon, UNC3886. I mean, these networks are under constant evolving siege.
They are.
And as the telcos themselves stated in their joint response, they regularly face attacks, and they are forced to constantly evolve their defense-in-depth mechanisms just to survive the baseline threat environment.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Seriously?
It really forces us to view the modern internet not as a secure public utility, but as a highly contested battle space.
Where the most significant, dangerous maneuvers happen entirely out of public sight.
Right.
So synthesizing everything we've looked at today, the CSA's detailed announcement, the sheer technical wizardry of burning 0 days to access hypervisors,
The rootkits.
the rootkits, the monumental 11-month engineering feat of Operation Cyber Guardian, and this really chilling geopolitical strategy of prepositioning.
Yeah.
What is the core lesson for the people and organizations relying on these networks every day?
I think the core lesson is a fundamental shift in how we define a secure environment.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Historically, we sort of assumed that a quiet network was a secure network. If the alarms weren't sounding, we were safe.
Right. No news is good news.
Exactly. But UNC3886 proved definitively that the absence of alarms does not mean the absence of an intruder.
Wow.
The most dangerous cyber threats operating today aren't the ones that break your servers or lock your files and demand a ransom in cryptocurrency. The truly existential threats are the ones that are perfectly content to sit quietly in the shadows of the infrastructure you rely on, methodically mapping your vulnerabilities, just watching and waiting.
That is an incredibly unsettling reality to leave you with. If it takes over 100 dedicated government cyber defenders nearly an entire year of painstaking surgical work to clean up a silent threat that never even tripped a standard alarm or stole a single file.
Yeah.
What else might be lurking in the digital pipes we use to communicate right this second? Are we absolutely sure the hidden room in the ventilation shaft is actually empty?
It's a question we all need to be asking.
Thank you so much for exploring this complex landscape with us today. Understanding the stark realities of these silent sieges is the absolute first step in defending against them. To make sure your own digital infrastructure is secure and to discuss your security and IT needs, be sure to visit www.kinsoft.com.au. Keep asking questions, keep looking past the obvious, and we will catch you next time.